Hey, what's going on, guys? So as you may already know, right before the second trailer reveal for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, we got a pretty significant piece of information as far as Game Freak is concerned, that being the fact that Junichi Masuda is in fact leaving Game Freak in order to pursue other pastures. Now, I'm going to get into some of the reception I've seen regarding this in a minute, but I did just want to clear the air here. Masuda was not fired. I have seen people spreading that around. He's not leaving Pokemon. He's actually just working for the Pokemon company itself rather than Game Freak, which develops the mainline games. This could mean a plethora of different things, and we're gonna have to wait to see what exactly Masuda is going to be working on. I do have a couple ideas of what maybe that could entail, but nothing rooted in hard evidence. Now, in case you either didn't know or just play Pokemon and don't really care about what's going on behind the scenes, Masuda alongside Satoshi Tajiri and Ken Sugimori actually founded Game Freak way back in the 90s. Masuda played an integral role in both the first two generations of Pokemon and then went on to be the lead director, starting with the third generation. He directed Pokemon games up until X and Y, where Shigeru Omori would take over as the director for most Pokemon games, starting with ORAS. Masuda also directed Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, has had influence on Pokemon Go, co-directed Pokemon BDSP, and more. So with this big decision being made, a lot of people are wondering what the future of Game Freak is, because despite Masuda not being the lead director of many of the recent Pokemon games, he still played a major role being one of the producers, and I mean, he was still the head of Game Freak, so there's always that. When it comes to reception from the fans, I've seen a wide array of perspectives via Discord, YouTube, as well as me just lurking around in subreddits and such, and it seems that there are a few pretty predictable stances. People are either happy that he's leaving and think Pokemon will be quote-unquote good now, others are happy he's pursuing new things and appreciate the work he's done thus far, and some are sad to see him go and worried about Pokemon. You also have everything in between, but these seem to be the major ones. I do want to sort of discuss my thoughts on this, as I think that in a lot of situations pertaining to stuff like this, I tend to have a bit more of a layered opinion than what's oftentimes the more common black and white arguments. So firstly, let me start by saying that I don't personally put the blame on the ground level developers at Game Freak for any of my issues with Sword and Shield and Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, because at the end of the day, they're just going by what their bosses are telling them to do. Furthermore, even the higher ups at Game Freak are subject to the Pokemon company's whim. So while it's easy to blame the people making the game for certain aspects to it that seem rushed and others that are honestly downright unacceptable, I do think that the lion's share of blame would fall on the people forcing these games out every year. Now, before people in the comments start saying, oh, the merch, the anime, blah, 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 this wasn't an issue before Generation 5. Every other generation received 4-year cycles, and then starting with Gen 5, they changed it to 3. What about the merch and anime back then? Just because having 3-year cycles will make them even more money doesn't justify doing it. I mean, by that logic, they might as well just do a game every single year, because then they can maximize their profits and, you know, screw the consumer because they have to keep up with the merch. You could say that that's taking it to the extreme, but it's essentially what that argument is. Because they need to make money and the maximum amount of that, it's okay to come up with products that are subpar, and if any other company does something like this, gaming or otherwise, people are quick to call them out. Anyways, tangent aside, it's no secret that Masuda himself has made some very questionable statements about the franchise, comparing it to mobile games and basically saying that people nowadays don't have time to play games and they'd rather play on their phone, so having content is pointless, which is a stark contrast from what we hear about games like Heart Gold and Soul Silver or Black and White 2 from other developers. So in that aspect, being that he is the director, or at least was, of Game Freak, even if the Pokemon company is riding his ass, I do think that this school of thought could very well be damaging to the main series games, especially for longtime fans. That said, despite this, he also did direct most mainline titles since Generation 3, so it's not like the man can't make a good game or direct a good game. But this sort of new school of thought ever since ORAS is definitely something I do not agree with. He did direct Pokemon Let's Go, which I personally didn't like, because to me, the game felt like a quick way to get Pokemon Go fans to play it, and only really appeals to people who either haven't played the main series since Gen 1 or very young kids. I mean, there's an attack called Batty Bad. What else do you need to know? But in all seriousness, I felt like games before could appeal to all ages, but this game just didn't do it for me. He also co-directed Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl alongside Ilka, and if you guys have been following my channel, you know what my opinion on that game is. So while we definitely can give Masuda credit for some of the great games, we also can't forget about some of what I consider to be bad decisions on the part of Game Freak as well, which again, could definitely be perpetuated by the Pokemon company. But at the end of the day, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors, and all we're going to end up doing is the runaround, essentially just working our way up the ladder, placing the blame on everybody until we get to the very top, and we don't know where these decisions are being made. I have seen a good amount of people celebrate him leaving, which doesn't necessarily mean that suddenly Pokemon is going to become quote-unquote good. I've seen the sentiment that this is the case, and again, please remember that there are so many different moving parts to Game Freak and the Pokemon Company that there's a good chance that the games could remain very similar to what they've been, or they can be worse. It's like that saying, I'd rather deal with the devil I know than the devil I don't. Commonly used in reference to getting a new boss, but can be applicable here. There is some sense of familiarity and comfort that comes with Pokemon because even when things are spiced up, at the end of the day, we know what to expect. Games like Pokemon Sword and Shield, while sure are definitely more controversial, can still be enjoyed by a lot of people who were against the Dex cut, because at the end of the day, it still plays like a Pokemon game. I don't want to get too much into the duality of what Pokemon fans want simultaneously that are contradicting, because I do have a whole other video planned for that, but essentially people want innovation, but at the same time they don't want things to change. I personally don't think that there's an issue with the Pokemon formula and would be happy if they just kept making new regions and sticking to the same formula, having a lot of content in their games, and rinse and repeat. But I hear a lot of people saying that they want something completely new and fresh, and while that's all good on paper, people always forget the cardinal rule that innovation for the sake of innovation isn't necessarily a good thing. All in all, I don't really know what to think about this whole situation. Part of me thinks that nothing much will change and business will continue as usual, but there's also the chance that we could start to see these changes through the games themselves. We can already see that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are definitely exploring new territory for the franchise. I think that the future of Pokemon and what happens moving forward will really show how much influence the Pokemon Company has versus a director of Game Freak. If games continue to feel super rushed and no development time is given to games, then we have a bit of a better idea that it's the Pokemon Company pushing these things and not necessarily Game Freak themselves. If the games suddenly become amazing and don't feel rushed, or suddenly the games are given more time for development, then we know that it was the lead at Game Freak that was perpetuating this. Either way, moving forward, I do think that we are going to be getting a little more insight, and honestly, despite my disagreements with some of Masuda's more recent philosophies and opinions about the franchise and how it should be, I do want to thank him and the team over at Game Freak for all of the childhood memories and creating a world for me to escape to during the darkest times in my life. The man has been working on this franchise for the past 25 years, and I hope whatever future endeavors he pursues, that it's fulfilling and makes him happy. So I guess my message to fans is ultimately, we don't know if this is a good or bad or even neutral thing, and even if you're like me and don't agree with some of his recent statements and sentiments, you also shouldn't diminish or forget all the great work he's done thus far, and vice versa. This truly does feel like the end of an era, and I'm very interested to see where this all goes. All that said, make sure to let me know in the comment section what you make from this. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say, and if you are a Pokemon fan or a fan of monster taming games in general, definitely subscribe to my channel for daily uploads. You can also check out my Discord and my Twitter, all links below. Special thanks to my patrons, especially Dark Persona, Steel Case, Dro Ghost, and Jim Hamilton, and with that, we'll see you guys next time. Peace.